Identity crisis. You spent your whole life being defined by a role: student, son, daughter, the smart one, the responsible one, part of a friend group, a school, a structure that told you who you were just by existing inside it. Then one day, those labels stop fitting, and nothing new has replaced them yet. You're no longer what you were, but you haven't fully become what you're going to be. That gap in the middle is where the lost feeling lives. This isn't weakness, it's the work. Figuring out who you actually are, separate from what your parents expected, separate from what your environment shaped, separate from the version of yourself you performed for other people, is one of the hardest things a human being can do. Most people never fully finish it. You're just doing it consciously, in real time, which is exactly why it hurts as much as it does. Comparison trap. Your brain is wired to measure itself against other people. That's not a flaw in your character. It's a survival mechanism humans have used for thousands of years to navigate social status and belonging. The problem is that you're no longer comparing yourself to the small group of people in your actual life. You're comparing yourself to everyone, everywhere, across every possible version of success, all at once. And you will always lose that comparison. Not because you're behind, but because you're seeing your full reality and everyone else's curated highlight. You see your 2 a.m. anxiety. You see your doubt. You see the version of yourself that hasn't figured it out yet. They're showing you the promotion post, the vacation photo, the confident caption. That math will never work in your favor, no matter how well your life is actually going. Falling behind. Somewhere along the way, you absorbed a timeline. Career established by this age. Relationship serious by that one. Financially stable by 30. Nobody handed it to you in writing. You just absorbed it. From family, from culture, from watching people around you hit milestones you haven't hit yet. And now, that invisible clock runs in the background of everything. Every decision carries the weight of it. Every year that passes without the expected checkboxes ticked feels like evidence of something going wrong. The fear of falling behind isn't really about the milestones themselves. It's about the terror that your life is moving too slowly while everyone else's is already ahead of you. The timeline isn't real, but the anxiety it creates very much is. No direction. When every path is theoretically open, none of them feel real. That's the trap your 20s set for you. You have more freedom and more options than any previous generation, and somehow that doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like standing in the middle of a room with 20 doors and no information about what's behind any of them. The absence of direction isn't a sign that you lack purpose or drive or ambition. It's a sign that you haven't accumulated enough lived experience to know what actually matters to you yet. You can't think your way to direction. You have to live your way there, through trying things, through failing at some of them, through the slow accumulation of self-knowledge that only comes from actually doing things. That takes longer than anyone tells you going in. Childhood dreams. You had a version of yourself that knew exactly what it wanted. Maybe it was a specific career. Maybe it was a feeling, freedom, creativity, impact. Maybe it was just a kind of life that seemed possible and exciting and yours. And somewhere between then and now, reality started editing that version out. Slowly, quietly, without any official announcement. You didn't wake up one day and decide to abandon your dreams. They just gradually got replaced by practicality, by pressure, by the understanding of what things actually cost and how hard they actually are. And at some point, you looked up and that earlier version of yourself was gone. That loss is real. It doesn't have to be dramatic to hurt. Letting go of who you thought you were going to be is one of the least acknowledged griefs in adult life, and one of the most common. Social media. Every time you open your phone, you are watching a performance. People are not sharing their lives. They're sharing the parts of their lives that photograph well. The anxiety before the job interview doesn't get posted. The argument 3 days after the engagement photo doesn't either. The Sunday where nothing happened and you felt vaguely empty, that one stays private. You know this. Consciously, you understand it. But knowing it doesn't stop the comparison from landing, because the emotional part of your brain doesn't fact-check what it sees. It just reacts. And what it sees, hundreds of times a day, is other people apparently living fuller, more successful, more joyful lives than yours. The rational mind says it's not real. The gut doesn't care. Adult loneliness. Friendships used to be automatic. Same school, same schedule, same lunch table every day. Proximity did all the work and you didn't have to try. You didn't build those friendships so much as fall into them because the structure of your life made it unavoidable. Then that structure disappeared. And nobody explained that adult friendship is a completely different skill, one that requires intentional effort, repeated vulnerability, the willingness to initiate without guarantee of reciprocation, and shared time that nobody is going to put on a calendar for you. So a lot of people in their 20s end up living in cities full of people, going to things, being technically social, and still feeling profoundly, privately alone. That's not a personal failure. It's what happens when a skill you never developed suddenly becomes necessary.
Financial anxiety. Money in your 20s is never just about money. It carries something heavier than the numbers. It's about proof. Proof that you're moving in the right direction. Proof that you're capable of building a stable life. Proof that you're going to be okay. Every financial struggle doesn't just feel like a practical problem to solve. It feels like evidence of something deeper going wrong. That extra layer of meaning makes everything harder. It makes it harder to look at your bank account honestly. It makes setbacks feel like verdicts. It turns a normal part of early adulthood, financial uncertainty, into something that feels shameful and isolating, even though nearly everyone around you is navigating the exact same thing behind closed doors. Validation. From the time you were a child, you were trained to perform for external feedback. Grades rewarded you for doing the right thing in front of the right people. Approval came when you met expectations. The system was built around the idea that someone was always evaluating you, and that their evaluation meant something real about your worth. Then you graduated, and the feedback stopped. No more grades. No more clear metrics. No more automatic signal that you're on track. So you reach for the next available version of it. Likes, praise, the perception that people around you think you're doing well. Not because you're insecure in some fundamental way, but because you were conditioned to need external confirmation that you exist correctly. Unlearning that dependence and building the ability to evaluate yourself from the inside is one of the quieter and more difficult pieces of growing up. Your real self. Here's what all of this is actually pointing toward. The lost feeling isn't a malfunction. It's not a sign that something went wrong with you specifically. It's the pressure, the specific, unavoidable pressure of becoming a real person. Someone chosen rather than inherited. Someone you actually built through decisions and failures and honest self-examination, rather than someone you just defaulted into because the structure around you made it easy. That process is supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to feel like standing on unstable ground, because the ground actually is unstable. You're building it while standing on it. The people around you who seem certain, most of them are performing certainty. The ones who've genuinely found something solid did it by sitting in the exact same confusion you're sitting in right now, and staying there long enough for something true to become clear.